Hey everyone, so the Corruption Wizard strikes again. In this week's episode, unfortunately, the video file got corrupted, but we have backups here, so it's going to be audio only. So if you're watching on YouTube or you're on Spotify watching the video, I'm sorry, there's just going to be a still in the background, but the audio's here. So for those of you who don't notice the difference, you just listen to the episodes, nothing happened. I did everything perfect and didn't mess up at all this week. Anyway, to the episode.
Wall Street veteran Bernard Madoff has been arrested and charged with running a $50 billion Ponzi scheme.
Congress wants to know what caused the Enron meltdown.
Now, while the collective rage currently is focused on WorldCom,
Tyco CEO Dennis Kozlowski was convicted of looting hundreds of millions of dollars.
This is one of the biggest fraud cases ever.
Their president's a crook. Well, I'm not a crook.
Find out more on this week's episode of White Collars, Red Hands.
What would you do if Indiana Jones matched with you on a dating app?
I would go over to his house immediately.
And I'm talking about in his heyday, like Temple of Doom, not Crystal Skull, all right? Even discounting the fact that it is Harrison Ford, who did win the Sexiest Man Award at 56 years old, which is crazy. The resume would be pretty impressive without that. Adventurer, sure. In great shape? Yes, but also a PhD in history and a professor of archaeology who travels to exotic dig sites and is a world-renowned expert on ancient civilizations?
Yeah.
Now, what if, on top of that, he was a devout man of God, an ex-Navy SEAL, and an Oscar-winning sound designer? That sounds like a pretty good deal to swipe right on. That's what the victims of Antonio Marriott Wilson thought they were doing, including one well-known member of the Hollywood scene. But Dr. Tony just seemed too good to be true. And as with everyone else, he was selling something, and not just a phony personality. We discuss who he really was and how the convicted felon bilked hundreds of thousands from multiple women while still managing to pull his hat from beneath the closing door on this week's episode of White Collars, Red Hands.
So Harrison Ford, Zaddy.
He's like 89 now, okay?
Well, now, but like, dude, during his heyday, yeah, he was hot AF.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of White Collars, Red Hands. My name's Kishan.
And I'm Nina.
And today we're revisiting the world of romance scams. We've done a couple of these.
I love them.
We did the Tinder Swindler. We did a whole compilation episode on romance scams.
Peaches something. What was her name?
Oh, yeah, Peaches. Oh, my God. What a crazy story. She was wild.
She took money from the Holocaust survivor. That one was fucked up.
Yeah, bad person. And today, Antonio Marriott Wilson, another bad person with a crazy backstory that's kind of been related to the Catch Me If You Can guy. His name eludes me right now, but he's the one who...
Leonardo DiCaprio?
No, the real guy, not the actor. Pretended that he was a pilot to get free plane trips, pretended that he was a doctor, all in real life, and had an ability to make people believe that he was something that he is not. And that is where he's aligned with Antonio Wilson. But first of all, before we jump into it, let's acknowledge the main sources for today, which come from primary court documents. I finally was registered with the Pacer. With a Pacer account, which is what lets you search for court documents across all the courts of the United States.
Nice.
Which you have to get approved for. It's taken weeks. I tried to get this a month ago, and I finally got approval for this. So I was able to pull some documents from there. Also articles from major news sources, and a kind of hard to find episode of American Greed, which unfortunately I just learned they're on a hiatus. After this last season, after 16 seasons.
God, it's a good show.
It is a good show. Bad podcasts. Their podcasts, they literally just put the audio from their episodes and then post it as a podcast. I've tried to listen to them. It's very difficult.
That would be really hard to listen to because they jump around a lot.
Exactly. So...
It's like when you're watching it, when you're watching it, it makes sense. And it's good. But to listen to it, I think would be pretty difficult.
Yeah. So all that to say, stay here, please.
Stay here.
Stay here. Listen to this episode of it. All right. So let's start off by learning a little bit about the one woman that Antonio Wilson should not have messed with, Jennifer Lewis. Lewis is a prolific actor who's been active since 1979 and is known for her roles in Sister Act, Castaway, and as Mama Odie in The Princess and the Frog. And more recently, she has been a character on the hit series Blackish. Well, she's got a lot of acting credits.
Who is she in Sister Act?
I don't know.
Oh, well.
Because I haven't seen the movie.
You've never seen Sister Act?
Maybe when it was like on TV.
Oh, you should watch Sister Act. That is cinematic gold. Whoopi Goldberg and some of her best work, better than Ghost, in my opinion.
I haven't even seen the musical stage adaptation, but I know there is one.
Of Sister Act?
Yeah.
I haven't either.
Supposedly it's good.
I believe it.
I should watch it.
It was a great movie.
But like many in the industry, Jennifer likes to stay in shape. And although she had landed some solid, well-known roles by 2013, she was somehow still doing this at an LA Fitness. After a workout, she happened to be approached by a personal trainer named Antonio that worked there, and he asked her out for coffee. So she agrees and is thoroughly impressed with his background. He says he is a graduate from Oxford, one of the most prestigious universities in the United Kingdom, if not the world, where he got his PhD in theology. So it's Dr. Tony to you. Thank you very much. He is also a former member of the Navy's Special Operations Department, the Navy SEALs. He has been using his PhD as a professor of biblical antiquities at UCLA, which is, I tried to look up if UCLA even has a class titled Biblical Antiquities. No,
they don't.
It doesn't. There's like an archaeology class that focuses kind of on like the Bible and its regions a little bit, but it has a different name. So
maybe they changed the class name.
Yeah, none of this is real. You're just surprised, by the way. And to back this up, he had written multiple books on theology that were available from Amazon. So that's pretty reputable, right? Because that's a website where it definitely isn't possible for literally anyone to write a book and self-publish it, no matter how stupid and silly.
Hey, sometimes that's, it's a loophole.
Yeah. Yeah, just and by the way, on an unrelated note, I did recently become a published author on Amazon. So please check out my book, 200 Periods, a 201-page gripping novel
of periods
consisting of a foreword followed by one period per page for 200 pages. Now available for the low price of $10. I'll put the link in the show description.
Please, it's a good way to support us.
That is not a joke. That is available. That is available. You can buy that if you want. This is how easy it is to do this. And by the way, Nina, I haven't told you this. You're actually listed as a correspondent on that book.
Oh,
as a translator for 200 periods. Nina actually translated all of the periods from Spanish into English.
I did.
Because in Spanish they use their periods are upside down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I flipped them the right way. Yeah.
Exactly.
It was a lot of work, but
so
I did really well.
So thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
And you can check our book out on Amazon.
Thank you.
So obviously, he is really hitching himself as a man of God, right? He's got a PhD in theology, which I don't even know if Oxford has a theology department. Maybe they do. But usually those big universities, I feel like, don't teach theology. They teach like religious studies, but not like actual theology.
I don't know. I don't know enough to speak on that.
Whatever. I don't know. But I mean, he had pictures of him at like desert dig sites and videos of him like with a brush.
With digging.
And like
digging in the dirt.
Digging instruments. And he was supposedly in the Middle East searching for biblical artifacts.
Okay.
And in Israel too. He takes this stuff seriously. And I'm sure all of this would take up a lot of his time, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of work.
You're a professor. He said that she came home one day and he was wearing his like Navy SEAL outfit, and he's like, "Oh, I just got back from training some new Navy recruits." So that's something you got to do. You got to travel all the time to go and dig up biblical artifacts. So you don't think there's a lot of time in that schedule, right?
No, I would think that would make dating difficult.
Yeah. Well, don't worry, because he also, on top of that, he had a side hustle, okay? He was a sound engineer for really well-known movie projects, actually.
Oh,
yeah, on top of that. In fact, he tells Jennifer that he worked on the sound design teams for 3 movies that won Oscars for it. The 2002 Spider-Man movie, Jurassic Park, and King Kong. Obviously not the original King Kong. That's from like 1920 or something.
What's crazy about this is that you could look all that up.
So he actually did have people later after he told this to, and they watched the movie and they just looked at all the credits and they were like, your name wasn't in there. And he was like, oh yeah, I'm on like the back end. It's normal for them not to put our name in. But I was on like the sound design team.
Okay, dude.
That did the design, whatever. Yeah, it's also not like you could go up and read his books on theology and be like, I didn't read them because I enjoy my time. But like you could read them, and I'm assuming they're bad, right?
Oh, probably.
So you could do a lot to check it out. But, people don't always. Remember, he was a personal trainer at LA Fitness, so he's not the worst looking guy.
Oh, yeah, this is like...
You kind of want to believe.
There's some not very hot personal trainers. Yeah, I mean, he's fine.
He doesn't like have like a bad body or anything.
No,
His face is fine.
he's not like big DILF energy, but
if he told you he was a professor, though, and it's like, oh, I'm a professor. And
listen, if I'm in my 40s,
I'm a sound designer.
My standards are lower.
Yeah, well, you're almost to your 40s, so that'll work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm almost a decade away. Okay.
Almost
a decade away.
All right. But yeah, so he's a guy that he's got an excuse for everything, right? You bring something up, he's gonna at least say something. He's deep in it. But because of his connections and experience in the sound designing industry, he even started his own sound design software company with the very original title of Ultimate FX. All right. And Ultimate FX is in the works for producing soundboards and software that can create almost any sound effect on demand. And he even says he has inked some lucrative deals with the likes of Fox and ESPN to use it in live sports broadcasts. All this time, he also told Jennifer that he was not familiar with her work at all and that he did not recognize her before asking her out.
Shut the fuck up, dude.
Hey, man, some celebrities love that shit when they're like, he didn't know who I was.
Yeah, but this doesn't feel like that. This feels like he said that to, like, downplay her.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm so busy digging up, like bones of saints in Israel that it's like, I don't
really have time to watch movies.
I haven't really caught Sister Act. I'm sorry. Wild. So, obviously... This man sounds but delectable, right? So although Jennifer was not really looking for a man at the time, in fact, her life was in some turmoil with her mother being quite ill at the time. So she said that she was just not in a good place at this time also. So
yeah, it sounds rough.
She started seeing Tony regularly.
Yeah, they say it happens when you least expect it.
Your mother getting ill?
No, dating somebody.
Oh,
and, well, your mom getting ill too.
Yeah, Murphy's Law.
Yeah.
Happens at the worst time.
Yep.
He seems to be not only the perfect boy in his life, but also the perfect boyfriend, doting on Jennifer and referring to her as the future Mrs. Wilson in their text exchanges. And although he would deny it later, Jennifer also claims that the relationship did get physical as well.
Of course it did.
I don't know. He's saying he's a man of God. Maybe he was like, can't.
Popes rape children, so
can't do it.
I think he's fine.
Well, maybe he's not Catholic.
Well, I'm just saying that, like, just because he's a man of God doesn't mean he's not getting physical.
Yeah, but I'm saying he might have used that as an excuse.
To not get physical?
To be believable. Yeah. I don't think you'll find out that I don't know if he necessarily wanted to be physical with these women. I think he might have just wanted their money.
Well, yeah, probably.
I mean, he even introduced her to his two real biological children. So I mean... Stuff got deep. They were together for 2 years.
That's a while.
So, yeah. Of course, a few months into this relationship, though, knowing that she has money, Tony asked her if she would invest or she would like to invest in Ultimate FX. To her credit, Jennifer does some investigating, and there actually is a pretty legit-looking website associated with the business, and he did show her these multi-million-dollar contracts that have been signed between Ultimate FX and these production companies or these television networks. But Tony is persistent in asking. At one point, he literally texts her something along the lines of, you need to choose love your money or me.
No, I'd be like, bye, bitch.
in deep, though, at this point, right? You've met his kids.
I mean, you really do. And if you really do love him.
If this happened a week in, you're going to say no.
Yeah.
But if you're with someone for a year and they're like, hey, and they're showing you stuff that makes it kind of look like it's a good investment, too, but still fucked up. So she decides to cut him a check for $50,000. And in the memo line, Tony requests that she write gift instead of investment, which will be important later.
Yeah.
So they date for 2 years, and in 2015, things are starting to get really serious. Jennifer announces their marriage to her friends, but when they are skeptical of the relationship, they don't really know much about him or really haven't met him that much, they convince Jennifer to do a little bit more digging into Antonio Wilson's background, which is when she discovers a man named Bryce Carrington. So who is Bryce Carrington? Well, Bryce Carrington moved into a $2.7 million mansion in Pleasanton, California in 2005 and can be seen driving around the neighborhood, which is placed on a private golf course. Like, these mansions are built around a private golf course, which is crazy. And he's driving around in luxury cars like special edition Hummers and Lamborghinis. And to get his house, he got a mortgage broker to help him finish the deal. And the broker sees that his money, when he's looking at his finances, is coming in as intermittent, large chunks instead of steady paychecks. And he asks him, why is your pay so irregular? And Bryce tells the broker that, he works in Hollywood as a sound designer. And Hollywood's a gig job economy, right? So the money comes in large chunks randomly throughout the year. That's just how it is.
I mean, he is not wrong with that.
True. It's a good cover story, but does any of that sound familiar, maybe?
Yes.
He takes the mortgage broker for rides in his fancy cars and holds meetings at the house where he shows him a case that contains 3 Oscars for sound design work that he did. And when the broker inspects them, they seem pretty real. He even says that he was the one who created the T-Rex sound effects in Jurassic Park. A big claim.
It's a big claim.
So then Bryce goes in for the pitch on his company, Ultimate FX. The broker does some research and, convinced by what he finds online, the contracts Bryce shows him, and his Oscars on display, the broker decides to invest $300,000 in the company.
Damn.
Which is kind of all the money he had.
Why would you do that?
It seemed like it was going to be pretty profitable.
Like, all your money?
Yeah, I mean, hey, diversify, right? But
that's pretty dumb. We've talked about this so many times. Do not invest everything into one investment.
Okay, that's right. But hindsight's 20/20, right? Like, you're literally seeing a guy who seems like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah,
he showed
but like,
you the Oscars
all your
he's
money?
won. He shows you contracts that show you, like, I've already inked multi-million-dollar deals. I just need the capital to start up.
Okay, like, I understand how he was fooled. Yeah. What I don't understand is why you would invest all your money.
Okay, I don't know if it was all his money, but it was a good portion of his money because of what happens to him later.
Okay.
That we'll talk about. I don't want to blame this guy, okay? This guy had a really rough time of it, so I don't want to call him stupid or dumb for this because, it's...
I'm just saying it's not smart to, like, don't invest every penny you have.
No. Which usually, like, the thing is that he was misled, right? You don't go to the stock market and put all the money you have in Apple, even though it usually goes up. Because you never know what's going to happen. But when someone comes to you that seems to have it all figured out, they're backing everything up. They live in a big mansion. It seems like they have good money. You think this could be like, this is my opportunity. As you can probably tell by now, Bryce Carrington is a made-up name that Antonio Wilson used at this time. And right now, he was already getting called out by real sound designers in Hollywood. I guess he became known kind of around the sound design scene because who the fuck lies about being a sound designer in Hollywood?
Yeah.
And he had like multiple websites that listed him as like a sound designer in the movies he had worked on. Spider-Man, Jurassic Park, The Fantastic Four, the really bad Chris Evans one. Actually, they're all bad. So they find him and they're like, who the fuck is this guy? So one guy who actually worked on the sound team for the 2002 Spider-Man finds his email and reaches out to him and he's like, yo, man, fucking stop.
Yeah.
Like, you weren't on these. We know you weren't on these. Like, no one knows who you are. I worked on this. You're lying. Antonio gets back to him And he sends back this like long apology that says he wasn't actually on the films, but instead he was producing his own recreations of the sound effects that were used on the films that he is now selling to people online to use.
That also sounds sketchy.
He also was not doing that. It's
Right,
just
it's a lie.
Just
It's
a lie.
all a lie.
Because the guy from Hollywood was like, yeah, you couldn't find any of those online. There's no evidence that he actually ever posted anything that you could buy that was actually sound design or sound effects that he made. He also told him that he had made a replica of the T-Rex sound effect from Jurassic Park by combining like weird stuff like hogs in water and lion growls, which is just like
Nonsense. Yeah, that's crazy.
I really don't think that's how it works.
No.
And this guy also was like, that's nonsense. He just said nonsense. But of course, yeah, none of this was true. In reality, he just was getting money from investors in this fake company to fund his lifestyle without doing any actual work. And the Oscars that he had displayed so prominently on his shelf and even bragged about polishing on Twitter, they're just really good replicas that he paid a jeweler $52,000 to make.
Wow.
So that's why they seem so real, is because they were expensive. They're just not actually real.
Yeah.
So this is why Antonio became the subject of an IRS investigation, because of his shady finances. He was reporting all of the... Because, like, when you get these checks and deposit them into your bank account, if they're over $10,000, it gets reported to the IRS.
Right, exactly.
So if you do this and they see that you're not, like, employed anywhere...
Yeah, they're like, what the fuck?
That's going to send up some red flags.
Yeah.
So this eventually leads the IRS investigation team to the mortgage broker store, where they question him, asking why he funded part of Antonio's mansion. And of course, the broker had no idea that his money went to funding the mansion to begin with. So pretty quickly, the IRS realizes that this is more than just a tax evasion case. It's also fraud. Mm-hmm. So he was eventually arrested and pled guilty to wire fraud and tax evasion in 2009, and was sentenced to 4 years in prison, and was ordered to pay restitution that, funnily enough, included money to the Academy Commission for his copyright infringement related to the use of the Oscar statue. They were like, yeah, you got to pay them like $10,000 or something.
Because you copied the Oscars.
Because you copied the Oscars, that's copyright infringement.
God.
And then passed them off as real, like online and stuff.
Crazy.
Which I think is funny. He served 3.5 years, and he got out in 2013, just in time to get a personal trainer job and meet Jennifer at LA Fitness. But his first big victim, like I said, he didn't really leave unscathed. That mortgage broker ended up losing his own house because he didn't have the money to pay for it. And on top of that, his wife and children left him over it. Like, his wife left him and took the kids. So he's like, yeah, I literally lost everything over this.
That's really horrible.
So, like, yikes.
That's really sad. That is really sad.
Yikes. So Jennifer finds out about all this when she sees Antonio's picture associated with this case online. And it just so happens that this was going to be the second worst thing that would happen to her that day, because the day she found out was also the day that her mother lost
Oh my God.
her long fight with illness. So although she was heartbroken, Jennifer kicked Tony's ass to the curb like immediately.
Good.
She sent him a text like, I've discovered something, some very unsettling things. I need time to investigate with it. Please do not contact me at all in the future.
Wow.
So, and she actually goes to the police and files for a temporary restraining order against him because, I mean, this is a who the bleep did I marry moment, but it's who the bleep did I almost marry.
Yeah.
You seem like you watch that show. Did you watch that show?
No, but I know what it is.
All right. So, and she actually begins trying to file a civil motion against him to return the money that she invested in the company. However, police tell her that her case is not likely going to hold water because she wrote gift in the subject line of the checks, making it hard to prove that she thought she was ever going to receive any sort of return on the investment.
Yeah.
So that even though it was obviously elicited from her under fraudulent means, they actually refused to arrest Tony at all. So Jennifer instead goes to the press and does this tour to spread the word, airing out all of the laundry fully in public.
Good for her.
Using her ability as an actress.
Good for her.
She does multiple spots on social media, multiple interviews, and does an interview on TMZ describing how this man conned her and how she doesn't want it to happen to anybody else and that nothing's happening about it. So good on her, by the way, because victims of romance scams often do not report because they're extremely embarrassed, right? They let themselves fall in love with someone whose only motive was to take their money, to steal from them. And that can be extremely hurtful, right? And you could just be like, it's easier to not say anything. I don't want to deal with all of the feelings of that. But it's always better to come out because you're going to be protecting others from falling victim. Because until they get caught, they're going to keep doing it.
Right.
Because they know they can.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
And he was so bold about it, man.
Very brazen.
And this had been happening to other people. Since his release in 2013 up until 2018, Antonio Wilson had used the same Indiana Jones-like personality to con 4 more women into investing into his company. This time, instead of hawking just Ultimate FX, he had also created Second Life. Second Life supposedly was a production company that produced animated tutorial videos to assist people in signing up for governmental assistance, such as food stamps and Medicaid, to help guide them through the process. Great idea.
This is a good idea, actually.
Probably should have just made it.
Actually do it?
I guess I don't know who would be the buyer for that sort of service. Like, how do you make money off of it? But,
yeah, true.
Still a good idea. This business did more aligned with the God-centric professor type, at least. It wasn't way out of left field, like, I also do Hollywood sound design, right? Because he added that extra layer of, theology when he was in prison, because that's when he wrote the fake books. It was those 3.5 years in a prison. He, I don't know, was, born again or something and wrote these books.
Of course he was.
And just incorporated that into his scamming immediately when he got released. It's pretty fucked up. So this time, instead of documents that detailed deals with large companies, he had documents that said the company was valued currently at about $3.5 million and was expected soon to be worth in total more than $20 million by analysts. So he also showed them fake, or I don't know if he showed them fake documentation or just told them this was the case, but that's how he was portraying Second Life. He would meet his victims on dating apps, primarily on Bumble, where he could entice wealthy women with his fancy stories to send the first like. Because for those of you who don't know, that's how Bumble works.
Yeah.
The woman is the one who reaches out first. The man cannot reach out first.
Apparently they're changing it, or it is changed.
I think there was a lawsuit against them because they said it was discrimination. Which, I mean, here's the thing.
That's ridiculous.
Legally, though, I could see it falling under that definition, but in practicality, that's kind of stupid.
It's really stupid. Just sign up for a different dating app.
It also, this kind of atmosphere makes it so I feel like women would feel more easy against being conned because, you're the one reaching out first. The power's in your court.
Yeah.
So you're not just, getting a bunch of unwanted communications in various forms, on Tinder, right? Mm-hmm. It's not these guys reaching out and being predatory on you. They're literally waiting on you to match with them, which is going to be harder to scam someone. It's going to make you feel more secure.
Right.
So he would still talk about his kids with these women, and the whole time he was doing this, by the way, he was actually still married.
Well, to be fair, a shocking amount of people on dating apps are married.
I would not know.
They are.
But you do, even though you're banned from some of them.
Just Tinder.
Just the biggest one, of course.
Just Tinder.
Yeah, well, he was married with 2 kids. That's why I think that I could see him kind of trying to stay away from sexual relationships with these women because I do think that he was kind of happy in his marriage with his kids.
Yeah, he just wanted to scam people.
That he was just doing this for money.
Yeah.
That being said, I think if it came down to that's what was going to keep his con going,
he would do it.
Yeah, I don't think he draws a hard line there, Yeah. So I couldn't really find anything more on his wife. So I'm kind of unsure if she was aware or played a part in the scheme. She was never charged with anything. So formally, she really wasn't included. But he would tell these 4 women, obviously not that he was married, but he said that he was previously married, and that usually something really traumatic happened to his wife. Either she died, they had a really rough divorce, or he even told at least one of his victims that his previous wife was murdered in front of him and his children by a home invader. All kind of in a pitiful attempt to gain sympathy and ultimately more money from these women.
That's insane.
Yeah. He's just telling them whatever sob story he can to to make it more likely that they will give him money.
Damn, that's insane.
So in 2017, Jennifer filed a suit against both LA Fitness and Tony Wilson. LA Fitness for not doing a rigorous enough background check on him before hiring Tony, which allowed them to meet. And also, I guess they sent some email correspondence with even like a court like supporting Antonio after she had started this petition. So, and which made it so her first court proceedings didn't really go through. So she was suing them for that as well. And obviously Tony for
being Tony.
All of the obvious things. Yeah. This in conjunction with her press tour brings a lot of attention on Tony, which causes his name to be thrown around the internet a lot. One of the people that got his name was a man named Don Shipley, an online content creator and former Spec Ops soldier who specializes in pointing out cases of stolen valor on the internet. And it turns out he had already been given Tony's name in relation to his earlier arrest, where he was also claiming to be an ex-Navy SEAL. And in a segment that Don calls Fake SEAL of the Week, he was able to go through records that definitely disproved Tony's claim of being a Navy SEAL. He still has access to all of like the training data, so he could see anyone who's been trained all of the necessary requirements to be a Navy SEAL. And yeah, he never showed up. Turns out though, he was in the Navy.
Okay, he just wasn't a SEAL.
He was in the Navy for 7 years, but he was never Spec Ops, and he never actually even saw combat. Like he was just like on a boat for 7 years.
Why lie? Like you could just say you were in the Navy.
He's already lying, saying that he's a professor.
I know. I guess he's lying about everything else.
You might as well throw in that you're a Navy SEAL. Yeah. Like honestly, that's like the smallest. That's one of the smaller lies that he did.
That's an embellishment. Honestly, it's not even a real lie.
It's like a tiny jump. So this does explain how Jennifer, when she came over to his house and found him in that Navy outfit, why he would at least have a Navy outfit.
That is true.
He did have added the SEAL pin on the lapel, but I'm sure he just purchased that from
Etsy
somewhere. I don't know. Hey, maybe that jeweler who made all of his fake Oscars.
His fake
right?
Oscars.
He's got to connect already.
Yeah.
So all this attention gets the FBI involved finally, and they start investigating Antonio Wilson and find that he has a long history of pretending to be someone else, not even that former arrest. He skipped out on another fraud case in Texas, and there are articles dating back from 1988 when he was much younger that detail him attempting to do the same kind of romance fraud, but like a much more watered down version of it at that time. And he is even on a local Orlando television station pretending to be real professional football player Dokie Williams. But it's not Dokie Williams, it's him. But yeah, so all this to say that by the way, the charges were dropped in this one about the paper in 1988 in Orlando. But yeah, he's been like this has been his whole life. He started as a con man when he was young. He took a 7-year break to be in the military, and then he went immediately back to conning people. Like, this is just what he does. The other 4 victims come forward quickly, probably because Jennifer Lewis kind of blazed a trail for them. And the FBI closes around Dr. Tony Wilson. And having been through this once already, he quickly decides to turn himself over and to start making a plea deal. Although in the process of this, he did weirdly double down on a lot of the claims, even to the FBI. He's
like, nope, I'm going to stick with it.
He literally...
Sticking with it.
I don't know what this was. He literally provided them fake Oxford diplomas.
What? This one gets you in more trouble, I feel like.
I know. Both a PhD and a master's, as well as fake documents, like training documents for the Navy that says he trained to be a Navy SEAL. And these were obviously very quickly debunked by the FBI.
Yeah, they're going to find out.
One of the largest investigators in the world.
Literally.
So, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know if this is like some weird play at like pleading insanity later. Because this is pretty stupid. It might have just been pure unbridled stupidity. I don't know.
It could have been. He was probably feeling very desperate and just like was grasping at straws. But still, this is really dumb.
Hey, man, he stuck to his guns. He really tried. So, as part of his plea deal, he agreed to plead guilty to 1 count of wire fraud, which holds a maximum sentence of 20 years in prison. The prosecutors asked for a sentence of 30 months from the judge, but the judge actually extended this and sentenced Antonio Wilson to 8 years in prison in 2020. So, for those of you who don't know, a judge can do that. Like, when you make a plea deal and the prosecutors recommend a sentence, that's all it is a recommendation. The judge can be like,
nah, fam.
yeah, you're going to get more.
Damn, that's crazy.
And he did. So 8 years. So he is set to release in 2028. He was also ordered to pay back the total of $272,000 that he stole in total from the 5 victims as restitution. And then LA Fitness settled their lawsuit with Jennifer Lewis for $13,000 on the side. And she is still bodying the acting world to this day. I think
Good for
Blackish
her.
is still going.
Yeah, it is, to my knowledge. Yeah.
So I think she is
pretty sure. It's a good
she's
show.
still on this. Or well, no, now they have like Schoolish or something. They've done spin-offs.
They've done a lot of spin-offs.
Right. It's like it's in young Sheldon territory, actually, I think, where they have like other things. So I'm sure she's around. Right? She's still around. So romance scams, as we've talked about on a few episodes that we mentioned earlier, are especially depraved scams. Not only are you messing with someone financially, you are often destroying them emotionally. Antonio Wilson is a lifelong con artist. It's all he knows. And after becoming a convicted felon, the only way that he could continue living his cushy lifestyle that he was used to was the only way he knew how. By scamming people out of their money. He lied about working in Hollywood, but honestly, he has turned in better performances than a lot of those who have actually spent time on the silver screen.
He has.
After 8 years is up, and he is released to the streets again and given access to another Bumble account, God forbid, at least this time the FBI will hopefully pay closer attention than the last time he was released. Because you know that that his first thoughts when he's out is how he can start up the con again.
Oh, this man is not reformed. Like, he will not be reformed. He will figure out another scam. No.
This is his
We
life.
are not safe from him.
This is his life. This is all he knows.
Yeah.
And it's all he's going to keep trying to do. He's not going to be like, you know what? You're right.
Maybe I should stop.
Yeah, I should just work at a Fry's. It's just not going to happen.
No. He will always be doing something like this.
So we'll see. But that's where we are with the story of Antonio Wilson. The thing I'm most impressed about is his ability to like really stick to the story and really like
and keep track of his stories.
Yeah, and like hustle these women too. Like he spent a lot of time. Like he dated Jennifer Lewis for
2 years.
2 years to get 50 grand. That's 25 grand a year. That's actually not.
That's not good. Actually,
that's not
not very good money.
Yeah. So, but hey, man, he stuck to his guns and he really, really, really tried.
Did he have another job too?
Not that I know of. I think he literally just scammed these women. That's kind of it.
That's crazy.
He relied on that money to do everything else. As far as I know, though, he wasn't spending. I think because of his run-in with the IRS, he wasn't spending money as crazily like when he lived in that mansion, because that kind of brought a lot of attention to him. So I think he dialed it back for these. I mean, he was. And here's the thing. You can poke a lot of holes in this story, right? You can be like, why would you think that a man who's now working as an LA Fitness trainer is also all of these other things?
Right.
Right? There's a lot of questions. But yeah, when it comes to matters of the heart, people tend to be a little bit more blind.
Yeah, they are.
Than a lot of other things. You know, you're thinking with not your up here parts. All right, for one.
Different head.
You're thinking your here parts, the heart. Yes, and vagina, Nina. Yes, very good.
Yeah, thinking about that.
So, hey, whatever. But if you enjoyed learning a little bit more about this, you know, why don't you support us a little bit too? And for real, not like Antonio Wilson supported these ladies, okay? And how do you do that, you ask? Oh, man. There's a couple ways.
There's a couple different ways.
Right, yeah, you can write a review. You can even publish it on Amazon, we've learned. It took about 30 minutes. Check out, by the way, plug 200 periods. The funnest punctuation has ever been. Yeah, write a review. Don't post it on Amazon. Post it on Apple Podcasts, please. It's the only place where you can write one. You can leave a star review there or on Spotify. And you can also check the video over on YouTube. We post all of these on YouTube on our YouTube channel, White Collars Red Hands. So go check us out there, please. That also helps support us. Give us a subscribe, hit that bell icon to be notified every time we post a video.
Yes.
You can also just like, share, follow on whatever podcatching service you listen to, and that really helps us out. What also helps us out is money, and you can give us money by going ahead and going to our website, whitecollarsredhands.com, checking out that little button that says check out the merch. Click on that. It'll take you to our merch page over at TeePublic, or it's in the show description, so you can go to the description there, click the link, check out the merch. You can also support us for free by following our other socials, not just over on YouTube or at facebook.com/whitecollarsredhands, Instagram at whitecollars_redhands, Twitter at whitecollarspod. We're on TikTok at whitecollarsredhands. Following us on all there, increasing our engagement there is helpful to us.
Thank you.
You can also send us a DM there if you want to suggest an episode. Some of you guys have been very vocal recently. Thank you for sending those episodes. And we'll try and incorporate as many of those into future seasons. I think we're on pace of doing even more than one fan-submitted episode a season. We always shoot for one, could be more. So please keep reaching out with those. We love we love getting those DMs and emails from you.
We sure do.
Speaking of email, you can send us an email, whitecollarsredhands@gmail.com, or go through the contact us page on that website I mentioned earlier. And the best way to support us, you might ask, that's word of mouth. All right? So pour some dulcet tones out of that mouth of yours right into the ears of your friends, family, and strangers. And just make sure that it includes the phrase, please listen to White Collars, Red Hands. My life depends on it, as many times as possible. So, that's it. And we'll see you next week on another episode of White Collars, Red Hands. Please listen to White Collars, Red Hands. My life depends on it.